श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं दीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिं रम्यजामातृयोगीन्द्रपादरेखामयं सदा तदायत्तात्मसत्तादिं रामानुजमुनिं भजे येनमायि निलं कीण्डयन्नप्पने कण्णा என்னுமென்னையாளுடை வானநாயகனே மணிமாணிக்கச்சுடரே தேனமாம்பொழில் தன் ஸ்ரீவரமங்கலத்தவர் கைதொழவுரை வானமாமலையே அடியேன் தொழவந்தருளே ஆரெனக்கு நின் பாதமே சரணாகத் தந்தொழிந்தாய் உனக்கோர் கைம்மாறு நான் ஒன்னிலேன் எனதாவியுமுனதே சேருகொள் கரும்பும் பெரும் சென்னலும் மலிதன் ஸ்ரீவரமங்கை நாறு பூந்தண்டுழாய் முடியாய் தெய்வநாயகனே ஸ்ரீமச்சடாரி யதிராஜ கிருபாவலம்பம் சௌமியோபயந்த்ரு ககனாத்ரிமுனீந்திரபக்தம் வேதாந்தயுக்ம விஷதீகரண பிரவீணம் ராமானுஜம் யதிவரம் குருமாஸ்ரயாமஹாம் श्रीशठारिगुरोर्दिव्यश्रीपादाब्जमधुव्रतं श्रीमद्यतीन्द्रप्रवणं श्रीलोकाचार्यमुनिं भजे குலநாதனெங்கள் மணவாளயோகி குணக்கடலை பலநாளு மண்டிப்பருகிக் களித்திந்தப் பாரினுள்ளே உலகாரியன் முனிமேகமின்னாளென் உள்ளங்குளிரா நலமான சீர்மை மழை நாளும் பொழிந்தது இந்நிலத்தே. The Supreme Lord, who is the consort of Sri Mahalakshmi, who has all of his desires completely fulfilled, and who is the repository of all auspicious attributes, resides in Sri Vaikuntham, which is known by the epithet Paramavyomam and Tad Vishnoho Paramam Padam, which refers to it being the abode of the Lord Sriman Narayana and it alone being the supreme abode. At Sri Vaikuntham, the Lord is surrounded by hosts of Nityasuris and Muktatmas led by Ananta, Garuda and Vishwaksena, and is ever united with his divine consorts like Shri, Bhu and Neela. There is no dearth in the bliss that the Nityas and Muktas enjoy at Sri Vaikuntham. In fact, Alvar himself says, Nalamandamillador Nadu. Here, the word Nalam, which literally means goodness, refers to the quality which is known as Ananda, bliss. So there is no dearth in bliss when it comes to Sri Vaikuntham. This being the case, the Lord desires in his divine heart for all of us fallen souls to also enjoin in serving him at Sri Vaikuntham, something we are all naturally entitled to. For this, the Lord takes up a lot of measures. He first reveals the Vedas, and as the appendices to the Vedas, he reveals the Smritis, being the indweller of rishis like Manu, Atri, Harita and so on. And the main accomplishment of the Smritis is to explain the Purva Bhaga of the Vedas which deal with Karmanushtanas. For the Uttara Bhaga, the Lord, being the indweller of rishis like Vyasa and Valmiki, reveals Itihasas and Puranas. The Itihasas are Sri Ramayana and Sri Mahabharata, and the Puranas are the 18 Mahapuranas, 18 Upapuranas, and so on. But learning all of these texts, which together are known as Shastras, requires a lot of time, for a matter of fact, and some prerequisite qualities in the learner. Therefore, learning all of this, mastering all of them, and realizing the true essence of the Lord, the true nature of the soul, and the reality of whatever is there, is a tough nut to crack. Therefore, the Lord churns Rik, Yajus, and Saman, and by churning each of these, 3 letters emanate from them: Akaram, Ukaram, and Makaram. The Lord combines all of them together, and the monosyllabled Pranavam is born. But the issue with Pranavam is that it is just a single syllable. As much as learning and mastering the Shastras and discerning the truth from what is not true is a Herculean task, learning and realizing the essence of what is there to be known from this single syllable is also near impossible. Therefore, the Lord himself becomes an Acharyan as the sage Narayana, and the Lord himself becomes a Sishya as the sage Nara, and the Lord as sage Narayana imparts the Tirumantram or the Narayana Ashtakshari, which is an elaboration of the Pranavam, to himself as sage Nara at Badrikashrama. But again, very few people actually found this beneficial. So the Lord thought, all of this won't work. So we have to make dissent, and we have to find new ways to uplift them. Therefore, the Lord incarnated as Vibhavatarams, as Rama, as Krishna, as whatnot, and by his touch, by his speech, by his unconditional love towards different people, he uplifted a lot of souls. But the issue here is, it all works just until the time when the Lord is present here as Vibhavavatara. Once he winds up all of his transcendental activities and returns back to his abode, those people who were so unfortunate to be born after the Lord's departure to Sri Vaikuntham will lose the benefit of the Lord's descent, that is, being uplifted. So what else to do then? That was when the Lord selected a few people, a few souls. There was no condition for this. The Lord just willingly desired that this may unfurl, and the Lord selected them. the Lord revealed his true nature to them. He imparted them the Tattva Jnana. He imparted to them the Bhakti Rupapanna Jnana, or the knowledge which had matured into devotion. And these souls the Lord designated that they may, go about uplifting all the others. These divine personalities are the Alvars and the Acharyas. So as we had seen earlier, the Lord reveals 3 rahasyams at different points of time. As sage Narayana, he imparts the Tirumantram or the Narayana Ashtakshari to himself as sage Nara at Badarikashrama. That happened at one point of time. And within Vishnu Loka, the Lord imparted the Dvaya Mahamantram to Sri Mahalakshmi. That happened at another point of time. And at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord imparted the Charama Shlokam to Arjuna as Krishna. That again happened at a different point of time. So, the Lord streamlined these 3 rahasyas and imparted them to Sri Mahalakshmi herself as in the form of Sri Ranganachiyar. And when the Lord imparted the Rahasyatrayam to her, these 3 rahasyams to her, the Lord was in the form of Ranganatha. And this happened at Sri Ranga. So, the Prathamacharyan, the first Acharyan in our Guru Parampara, is the Lord himself. And the Lord imparts the Rahasyatrayam to Sri Mahalakshmi. And Sri Mahalakshmi imparts this Rahasyatrayam to Vishvaksena. And by the orders of the Lord, Vishvaksena confers Panchasamskaram unto Nammalvar, and from Nammalvar, our Guru Parampara finds its successors in this mortal realm. Then what about the other Alvars? The other Alvars too had the knowledge of the Rahasyatrayams, and they completely knew the true nature of the Lord. Since the other Alvars are Avayavas, are as good as the limbs of the Avayavi who is Nammalvar, it need not be said that has anyone ever told us that my shoulders received the Tapa Samskara, therefore my shoulders have received the Pancha Samskaram, but my palms have not, or my head has not, right? The 5 samskaras happen to us, and we say Adiyen Ramanujadasan, or Adiyen Sri Vaishnavadasan, or Adiyen Madhura Kavidasan, as per their parampara. So, through Nammalvar, it is to be understood that all the Alvars were also included in the Guru Parampara, are also included in the Guru Parampara. At this point of time, Sriman Natha Munigal, who was already born to a Bhattaraka family at Kattumannar Koil, he approached Nammalvar. The story is well known, and learnt the essence and the elucidation of the Dvayamaha Mantram, which is Thiruvaimuri itself, and the essence of the Rahasyatraya, which in turn is the essence of the Vedas, in the form of the other Arulichayal, and pass this on to the successive disciples. In fact, Shruti, that is Veda, it has two shakhas, the Samskrita Veda and the Dravida Veda. The Samskrita Veda is already well known. So the Lord desired that the Dravida Veda be propagated as it is a shakha of the original main branch of the Veda itself, main trunk of the Veda itself. So from Sriman Nathamunigal, it passed on to Iyakondar, Manakal Nambigal, Alavandar. Then Alavandar nominated 5 acharyas, the foremost among them being Periyanambigal. And Periyanambigal conferred Panchasamskaram to Emperumanar, to Bhagavad Ramanujacharya. And Emperumanar, needless to say, was the direct incarnation of Thiruvananthalvan, of Adisesha himself. And here people say Emperumanar did not nominate successors. That is utterly incorrect. Emperumanar, during his last days at the Leela Vibhuti here, nominated Parashara Bhattar as his successor. Not only just he did that, he also instructed his disciples to look at Parashara Bhattar the same way how his disciples look at him, that is Emperumanar. There is another thing which we have to understand here. Bhattar had his Panchasamskaram from Embar and Kurattalvan, according to various accounts. So both Kurattalvan and Embar were Bhattar's acharyas, but the one who imparted the Mula Mantra alone is called one's acharya. Therefore, Embar is Parashara Bhattar's acharya. So, from Emperumanar, Embar, and then Bhattar. Then Bhattar went to Melnadu and conquered a Mayavadi called Madhavacharya, who later on became Bhattar's disciple, renounced his home and riches and came to Srirangam from Melnadu and approached Bhattar and lived at his divine feet till the end of his avataram in this Leela Vibhuti. And that Madhavacharya, upon accepting the order of renunciation, came to be known as Nanjiyar. And Nanjiyar's Shishya was Nampillai. Nampillai was an Avatara Purusha. He was seen on par with Nammalvar himself. He was called Kalikandridasa and he was born on Kartigai, which happens to be the Trinakshatram of Thirumangai Alvar. Therefore, he is held as the incarnation of Thirumangai Alvar as well. In fact, Thirumangai Alvar says to the Lord of Thirukkannamangai, Kanna Nindanakkum Kurippahil Karkalam Kaviyin Porultane. O Lord Krishna, if you truly desire, you may come to me and learn from me the inner meanings of the verses which you have urged me to sing. and therefore the Lord himself descended as a Shishya on Avani Rohini, and this Shishya of Nampillai came to be known as Periyavachan Pillai. Periyavachan Pillai wrote a lot of Vyakhyanams for all of the Nalayara Divya Prabandhams, and Nampillai's foremost Shishya, Pinbalagaram Perumal Jiyar, made a hagiography of the entire Guru Parampara, which is called Guru Parampara Prabhavam. The size of the said Guru Parampara Prabhavam is 6000 padigal, 6000 padis in volume. One padi is equivalent to 32 aksharams or 32 letters or syllables. So this Guru Parampara Prabhavam spanned over 6000 padigal, over 6000 padis. Therefore, Pinbalagaram Perumal Jiyar's hagiographical accounts were titled 6000 Padi Guru Parampara Prabhavam. The 6000 Padi Guru Parampara Prabhavam covered the entire history of the Sri Vaishnava Guru Parampara up until Nampillai, whose Shishya Pinbalagaram Perumal Jiyar was. Nampillai's age was the golden age of Sri Vaishnavism, something which will not happen till the times of Manavala Mamunigal. There was no threat during Nampillai's tenure as the Sampradaya Pravartaka. Emperumanar had to move out of Srirangam out of fear from the Shaiva king who threatened to destroy Sri Vaishnavism as a whole. Bhattar had to move out of Srirangam to Trikoshtiur for a short period of time due to a dispute with the local ruler. But Nampillai did not have to move out of Srirangam. Srirangam flourished under Nampillai's times. And this would happen again only in the times of Sriman Manavala Mamunigal. So after the times of Nampillai, well until Pillalokacharya was over 100 years old, everything was fine, but it was a time of invasions. The barbaric rulers from the north, they came marching down, and the history is well known. Since this is a prelude to the series which we will be looking at, I am just cutting it short. So all of this happened, and Namperumal had to move out of Srirangam for 48 years. He had to be brought in again with the help of a few locals who caught the Vijayanagara chieftains at the right time and urged them to come and redeem Srirangam from the hands of the barbaric rulers. And that happened. Namperumal returned to Srirangam from Shenji, where he was kept for a short period of time after, at the fag end of his travel throughout South India. And Alvar Tirunagari was a wasteland by the time all of these issues were quietened. At that time, Thiruvaimozhi Pillai, who was nominated by Pillalokacharya as the Sampradaya Pravartaka, he took the pains in restoring the Sannidhi, and he dug out the Trimeni of Bhavishyadacharyan of Emperumanar from the base of the Tirupuli Alvar, the holy tamarind tree under which Nammalvar remained in penance for 16 years and in imparting his 4 Prabandhams, Thiruviruttam, Thiruvachiriyam, Periya Thiruvandadi and Thiruvaimozhi for another set of 16 years. So for a total of 32 years, which was the entire lifespan of Nammalvar, Alvar spent it all under the shades of this Tirupuli Alvar. It was under this Tirupuli Alvar, at the base of it, where the Sri Vaishnavas of Alvar Tirunagari buried the Tirumeni of Bhavishyadacharyan to protect it from the invaders. So Thiruvaimozhi Pillai dug this Tirumeni out, and he established a temple, a Sannidhi for Emperumanar, along with all the other Acharya Purushas like Kuratalvan, and established the township of Ramanuja Chaturvedi Mangalam to the west of the Adhinatha Alvar Sannidhi at Alvar Tirunagari. All of this happened, and by that time Alvar Tirunagari was a wasteland, and the trees and shrubs had to be cleared to establish the town over there. Therefore, a great contribution has been made by Thiruvaimozhi Pillai to this Sampradayam in also retrieving a lot of granthams which were supposedly lost in the invasion as well, like Velanjolai Pillai Saptakadai. It was memorized by Thiruvaimozhi Pillai when Velanjolai Pillai was in his final days. He learned the Eid by heart. He had to go to Melnadu for that as well. He learned the Eid by heart, and he learned the Sri Vasana Bhushanam, Tattvatrayam and Mumukshupadi and a lot of other granthams which were available during his times, so that they wouldn't be lost. And Manavala Mamunigal cemented all of them. He wrote extensive Vyakhyanams for all of them. He, sort of held the Sampradayam and restored it back to its former glory. And all of this Vaibhavam was not documented for some time, except for a few Pasurams, and during the times of Manavala Mamunigal, a lot of his contemporaries have written about him extensively. But strictly speaking, a compiled hagiographical account was not available, like the Arayarapadi to say. So, the descendant of Manavala Mamunigal's Ashtadiggajam, one of Manavala Mamunigal's Ashtadiggajangal, who was Paravastu Bhattar Piranjiyar, his descendant Pillalokam Jiyar gave us the virtue, blessed us with the virtue of knowing what happened in the life and times of Manavala Mamunigal through his composition of Yatindra Prabhavam. So, if not for Pillalokam Jiyar Swami, we wouldn't have had the opportunity of going through, of knowing what really happened during, right after the times of Nampillai himself. So, we owe a lot of gratitude to Pillalokam Jiyar, and Pillalokam Jier has also written extensive Vyakhyanams for a lot of Rahasya Granthams and even the Ramanujanuttandadi as well. Pillalokam Jier renovated the Sthalashayana Perumal Sannidhi at Mamallapuram at Tirukkadalmallai. He renovated the Avatarasthalam of Bhutattalvar at Tirukkadalmallai, and he has written comprehensive Vyakhyanams for Manavala Mamunigal Sri Suktis like Upadesha Ratnamalai, Tiruvayumuizhunuttandadi and Arthi Prabandham. And even to this day, we can see an inscription in the Tirukkadalmallai Dividesham, a copper plate to say, which identifies him as Yatindra Pravana Prabhavam Pillalokam Jier. This indicates how famous Pillalokam Jier was as the author of such a renowned text, such an invaluable treasure known as Yatindra Prabhavam. And it is our good fortune that we are going to spend time in relishing the life and times of Manavala Mamunigal and his predecessors like Nampillai, Vadakku Trivedi Pillai, Pillalokacharya and Azhiya Manavala Perumal Nayanar, Tiruvayumizhi Pillai and his Acharyas, including Pillalokacharya, and then finally Manavala Mamunigal. On this note, we pray to the lotus feet of Sriman Manavala Mamunigal to give us the strength and the opportunity to sing of his own glory and to enjoy his pastimes as he lived it all. Alvaram Brahmanar Jiyar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam, Jiyar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam.